All right, welcome back to the podcast, everyone. On this episode, we're going to hear from the creators of the popular Let's Learn Croatian podcast, Uncle Mike, Tony D, and DJ Moe. Living in Southern California, we're going to hear about their Croatian connection and the story behind the Let's Learn Croatian podcast. Guys, thanks for coming on the All Things Croatia podcast.
Hey, thanks for
Thank
having
you.
us.
Yeah, thank you for having us so much.
Yeah,
Yeah.
of course. Excited to do a little sort of cross promotion here. I think you guys are the first rival podcast I've had on.
Oh yeah, we're all
Yeah.
teammates here. Let's hope for teammates
Thank
section.
you, guys.
No, I'm totally
Thank you,
kidding.
totally.
Totally kidding. Love what you guys are doing. I mean, the Croatian language is so tough. I mean, I literally moved to Croatia just to learn, Croatian.
Wow.
So, I'm excited to learn a little bit more about what you guys are doing. But sort of before you get into that, can you tell us a little bit, about yourselves and your Croatian background?
Yeah, I'll go first. I'm Uncle Mike. Yeah, my parents are both born and raised in former Yugoslavia, which is now Croatia, and they moved here to the States when they were younger. I'm a first generation born here, grew up around Croatians mostly, learned how to speak Croatian before I learned how to speak English. So kindergarten was a scary first day of learning English. So Croatian was a big part of my life. A lot of family, a lot of friends, kind of growing up in that environment. And yeah, go to Croatia as much as I can. I still have some aunts and uncles over there, some cousins, extended family. So yeah, definitely big part of my life.
Awesome. Well, I'm not Croatian.
Yes.
No.
I grew up in this town, and this town being an offshoot of Los Angeles, California, called San Pedro, and essentially the huge Croatian population. So I went going to public schools and having all my friends being a mixture of a lot of people, but majority of them being Croatian. I met this guy.
Mhm.
I also married a Croatian.
There you go.
So I'm
Yeah.
definitely, in the mix and in the family now. I got jumped in, so to speak.
Mm.
So far so good. I've been hearing about Croatia most of my life from a lot of my friends. I got to meet their parents, and they're beautiful people, and all their family, extended families. And I've been hearing about Croatia for a very long time. So I was finally happy to see it in person a couple of years ago. So yeah.
Well, I think I'm the furthest away from it all. I actually met these gentlemen a long time ago, and that was my first introduction to Croatian, the culture, the language, the food, everything then. And then with this podcast here, and I was born here in Southern California, but had nothing to do with the language and culture and idea of Croatia or Croatians themselves until Uncle Mike here. But that's my character as well as me in real life, Tony D on the podcast. I get to learn everything and mess it all up. Yeah.
Yeah, a new learner, definitely a
Yeah.
fresh learner. No background to it, right, Tony?
Not at all. Not at all.
Yeah.
Well, I
But
mean, yeah,
it's
that's super helpful,
wonderful.
especially, I mean, because if you teach Croatian and you're around Croatian and to you, the things are obvious for someone who's just learning, it's definitely helpful to have someone, ask those kind of questions during the podcast and things like that. You mentioned, you guys are in San Pedro, and of course, there's a huge Croatian population over there. Before the podcast or aside from the podcast and, even current stuff, are you guys involved, at all in the community over there?
Me personally, no. I mean, I've definitely have some family, some distant friends. Like there's a Croatian Hall on 9th Street, and it's actually between Gaffey and Grand on 9th Street. It's actually is it called Croatian Place or Croatian Way? It's dedicated to where the hall that was built there. A lot of Croatians will have their festas there, whether it's Independence Day or it's a Komiška Noć, or I think they have lunches every Wednesday where a lot of the diaspora will come through, whether it's the older generation, younger generation. I'm personally not super connected to it besides, the friends, close friends and family I have. But Moses, have you ever been to Croatian Hall?
Yeah, I've been there.
Yeah. So a place I pass by, but I personally don't dabble too much.
Yeah, my biggest connection is this podcast and my family.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's kind of where, as far as it goes, as far as the podcast is concerned, we've definitely.
Oh, the World Cup thing.
Oh yeah.
They had a whole block party.
Yes, they did.
Yeah.
Crazy
Massive
yeah.
down there. Yeah.
Yeah, that was
I'm
rad.
sure it was crazy over there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, I mean, you mentioned the podcast again, and that's sort of what we're on here to talk about, the Let's Learn Croatian podcast. When did you guys start that, and how did that sort of come about?
Story goes,
Mm-hmm.
it was my wife and I and my kids, because I got 2 kids. We were gonna head out to Croatia for my first time, their first time. So basically, my wife was gonna like introduce me to the family, what have you. This is after we're married, obviously with kids now. And so this guy, Uncle Mike here, he's out of the blue, just hits me up. He's like, "Hey, you're going in a month or so. You should check out these lessons I did with Tony like years ago for his own niece and nephew for their own trips." And so this is the old content he's given me, and he only gave me, I think, 3 audio files.
Yeah, well, it was only 3 lessons that Tony and I did. Just very, very basic. Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, thank you, please. Just super, super simple stuff. And you know, for like kind of experimenting with microphones, and that was all it was. And then if you're going to Croatia here, you know, and then
this may help you. Like you may be able to find a bathroom, or like you may be able to say hello and good night. You know, that's super simple stuff. And for me, I was like, I heard it and I was like, well, this is super helpful, but it's very, very small. And there wasn't enough for me to kind of like fully like once I said Dobar dan to somebody and they hit me back with something else, I was like screwed. You know? I was like, where do I go? And not only am I disappointing them, I look dumb, I not be able to go any further than that. And so I asked for more. And so I after a while, I demanded more because it took a lot of arm twisting for this guy here, Uncle Mike. Tony D was definitely a bit more like, yeah, I'm down.
Yeah,
you know,
anything to hang out with these guys. So
so by the way, we've all known each other for 20 years. So it's just another opportunity for us to hang out. But that's kind of where the podcast came from, is the inception of like, I want to learn more. I want my kids to know more. And obviously living in this community, we know a lot of people in the same boat. Their kids have not heard enough of it, don't get exposure to it. And we want to continue to do that for them, especially in a roundabout way where it's easy to absorb and open to all. And that's the biggest thing. I don't want a lot of podcasts out there, people throw a lot of language out there that is not fitting for a child to listen to, in my opinion. So we wanted to keep it as clean as possible. Like I want a parent driving their kids to school and they could turn it on and not worry that Uncle Mike's going to drop an F-bomb, or I'm going to say something really negative, or you know, we're not doing that on this podcast. You just want to make it open to all.
So a lot of positivity and everything through learning. Well, let me ask you, did those lessons help at all when you went to Croatia?
Yes, they did. Yes, they did. I will say that I still get to a point where I can't get past. You know, there is that speed bump that I hit, and sometimes I can't get over it. Sometimes I can, and a lot of times it was just information that I knew that I didn't have available in my brain at that very second. I remember my last visit, because I've gone 3 times now. My last visit, my wife's uncle, he was telling me. He's like, oh, you came. You know, always Croatian. I'm not gonna repeat it for you because I'll butcher it. But he's like, oh, you came and it's so hot. Did you bring the sun with you? And I was like, sunshano. That's all I could do in my mind. I'm like, what is he talking about? And it just, I couldn't connect it. I just got off a plane and I felt really bad, but I got through most of it up until that point. And I was like, man, it's sunny, duh.
Yeah. You know, for me personally, I find it's a lot easier to, I find it's a lot to like understand when someone is talking to someone else that like I'm with, and I'm listening to them talk, but then when someone's talking to me directly, like I feel like I process slower, or like I freak out a bit.
Is it because you have it in another language prior, and then you have to transpose it in your mind?
Well, that's
not automatic enough yet. Yeah. I'm with you.
Yeah. Well, so from the original audio clips, so you guys, that wasn't with puppets or anything at that point, or was it?
No. So I think I did a few lessons for my nieces and nephews. It might have been close to 10 years ago. And then, you know, kind of handed them out to whoever needed them. And then in fall of, I think you went summer of 2019, and we started the podcast in the fall of 2019. And then as we've kind of been going with it and let's give it a try. And then someone's like, hey, how about a YouTube with puppets? Because we were like, not really crazy. I wasn't crazy about putting, let's say, my face to it right away. And the puppets with our YouTube channel is like a fun way for kids to see language being spoken. And it's more of my personal thing is our audience are Moses's children, and everyone's going to get the most out of that. Because, you know, if you're going to do like simple conversation for children, it'll definitely translate for everyone as well, adults too. So
myself especially,
and Tony's included in that.
And Tony D's.
Well, it's a great visual way, because you see the words spelled out, and obviously they don't sound exactly the way they look, but you kind of get the understanding, and especially where things are silent or where things have a little hat on it, and it's weird.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
Yeah, definitely being able to visualize, the words that you're seeing. Well, I mean, you guys have a pretty big audience on YouTube. You have like 4,000 and something followers, I think, on YouTube. You guys are also you release as audio as well on, Spotify and Apple Podcasts and those sort of things.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah. So we do a podcast twice a month. We try to do, we started the YouTube channel maybe a year after. So we're trying to steadily playing catch up with just, let's say the YouTube channel is just the lesson portion of our podcast. So the podcast is going to have, our mailbag of people that write to us. We'll do a lesson portion. DJ Moe does a super slotka report, kind of a cultural report, a bunch of goofy dad jokes mixed in there. And so, the YouTube was a little bit more refined on just the lesson section. So
I see. So
yeah,
for like cultural report, that's about Croatia, things going on over there, or?
Yeah, it's essentially a report on super slotka report. It's basically anything that I find interesting that is connected to Croatia in some shape or form, whether it be sciencey, whether it be history-based kind of subject.
Oh, the hikes that you were talking about?
Even trails that I've gone on and things of that nature that I think are interesting, that someone that may not know too much as a kid, would go, oh, that's cool, because there's so many things. Croatia's been, touched upon by many, I would say, empires over the years, right? You got your Byzantines, your Romans, the Greeks, and it goes way back, and there's so much history there, and there's a little bit of a story for each one, and you just got to pick one out, and they're all amazing. So I always find them super interesting, so I try to make them as interesting for everybody else, and just really report on something that caught my eye, but I think would catch somebody else if they heard about it.
Me too. That ghost story trail thing, that stuck in my brain. The underwater aqueduct rivery thing, that stuck in my brain. I mean, there's so much cool stuff that I've never been to Croatia, so that's obviously like ultimately my trip, my dream trip.
Yeah,
because of all the things that I've heard in the Super Slotka report. I have a huge list that I probably never leave, so I can complete all of that.
But yeah, also food, also sports. We just talked about the 98 World Cup team in our last episode. So yeah, everything and anything Croatian.
Yeah.
Artists, sculptors, musicians, big time, everything.
Okay. So if you only want the language lessons, you can go on YouTube for that and watch the puppet show. But if you want the whole thing, culture, music, a little bit about everything, the full podcast is available.
Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I'll let you guys shout that out right now before I forget, where you can sort of find what the YouTube handle is, where you can find the podcast, any other sort of social medias.
Sure thing. Yeah. YouTube is basically anywhere you go on, find podcast is either iTunes, Spotify, Apple Play, whatever it is, but it's Let's Learn Croatian. That's our podcast name, right? So that's kind of all up there. We have a website called letslearncroatian.com. Facebook is LLC Pod. Instagram also LLC Pod. YouTube channel is another, it's Let's Learn Croatian, and you'll see our little lessons, and you'll see, as you see in the video here, whoever's watching the video, we have 3 puppets. It'll have a nice subtitle mix there of
what the lesson's about.
The lesson sections that we do. Yeah.
Awesome. And I'll drop links, of course, in the episode description, so you guys can go and click on those as well.
Excellent.
Someone mentioned the report, or no, not the report, where you open like fan mail or mail from.
That's Tony.
Yeah. Well, can you talk a little, because I wanted to ask, like, how do you guys measure the success of the podcast, or like what makes it worth it for you guys? Do you hear from, people saying, oh, I'm learning so much, or, thank you so much, this and this?
I think the biggest, I guess, heartwarming, feel good moments have been anyone learning. I mean, honestly, it's been an amazing sight to read people from all around the world that stumble upon us, that have been, recommended to them, but it's all about family and history and being able to reconnect or connect further with family. And whether it's their history, their lineage of being from Croatia, but now in Brazil or New Zealand or wherever,
Canada, Argentina,
Netherlands,
Australia, Indonesia. Seriously, all over the world in random places,
wherever they migrated from. Hearing from them at least being able to say like, this has inspired us to learn more about our history, our heritage, our family lineage. And it's wonderful. It's wonderful to see where everyone has gone and, you know, migrated to then reel them back in and say, hey, remember Croatia? You know, remember family, remember like, you know, where we came from. And they share that with us. And that's really nice to see that it, even if it's their first episode or their 98th episode, they're still interacting with us and letting us know that, you know, they're still listening, and it's inspiring.
It's a really cool, that's success to us.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah. Getting those kind of emails are fun. Definitely.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's an awesome feeling. I mean, I feel the same way, you know, because that's the goal of, you know, this podcast as well, what I'm trying to do as well. But yeah, that's just the best feeling, you know, because I as well am, you know, trying to reconnect with my roots and, you know, become closer to the Croatian language, Croatian culture and all that. So yeah, really, you know, it's heartwarming when you hear that others are going through the same thing, you know, because of what you're doing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's great though that you're able to be so inspired to move there and be within it.
That's the big step. That's
Yeah.
a big step. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it
You
started
get to
smaller.
experience all of that. Yeah.
Yeah.
How small?
Well, I thought I was going to come for 3 months originally.
Okay.
A 3-month language program. And now I've been here a little over 2 years. So,
Oh, wow.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Very cool.
Just kept month by month, I kept extending. And then all of a sudden now I'm here.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
But
And you're in Zagreb, you said, right?
yeah, I'm in Zagreb. Yeah,
main
which, I
capital,
mean, it's
big
super
city.
nice. It's, in my opinion, the best sort of all around, all year-round city, you know, in Croatia.
I see.
Because, you know, the coast, of course, is beautiful. And of course, during the summer, you know, I'm going to go down to the coast. But, you know, the winter and stuff, it's a little bit, you know, slow down there. The cities.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, which is nice too. But I don't know. For me, I'm used, you know, being from LA, you know, I'm sort of used to the city life a little bit more. So for me,
Yeah.
Zagreb's a little closer to home.
Beautiful.
I believe that I'll get a video from you guys, right? That I'm attaching to the end of this podcast.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Just so I'll alert people right now who are listening, who will be listening. There's going to be a video here at the end of this. And before we cut to that, I just got a couple sort of fun questions for you guys.
Sure thing.
Quick questions. One piece of advice you can give for learning Croatian.
I'll do that is keep it simple, you know, because I remember learning German in school, let's say college, and then going to Germany and only having like a very like book rooted conversational way of speaking. And I was looked at like I was like, who is this guy? You know, like talking like a professor to everybody. But Croatian, yeah, like learning a little bit of dialect, a little bit of slang is very, very helpful with connecting to people. Big time.
I agree. Yeah, definitely agree. This is for all three of you. Favorite, well, I guess for two of you right now, favorite food when you're in Croatia. I believe that's Tony D, who will soon go there, right?
Hopefully.
Go ahead, DJ Moe. I got mine.
Oh, go then.
Well, I mean, whenever I go, I know I'm gonna have to have burek. You know, so I'm gonna have to have burek, and I'm gonna have to have rajnici, right? So that's kind of the barbecued is that pork, and then with French fries. And then for me over there, the big thing is the fresh vegetables and the fresh fruit. Such a different a quality of food versus the stuff that we get in Southern California that's coming from everywhere. Over there, that's such a different flavor where I feel like the freshness is I'm all in. I'm all in over there. Yeah,
that's huge. That's an amazing treat. Is it that I joke about it? I'm like the farm to table thing's legit over there. You know? That's all they do.
Yeah.
They just go out in the garden and with a pair of shears and then bring something back and they cook it up. But for food wise, like I'm going to reflect mainly on what like my wife's aunt and uncle make for us a lot of times. It's the salata pomodori. It's so amazing. The tomatoes are just like this guy makes fun of me. He's like the only tomatoes DJ Moe would eat prior to going to Croatia was ketchup, and you know he's not that far off. You know, but the pomodori over there was just phenomenal. And then also another thing that my family over there will make and do make is they call them thick pizza. There's like these little pancakes that are they're like fried. What do you call them?
Shredded squash. Shredded and fried.
And fried. Oh, it's so bonkers good. Oh my god.
Yeah.
And then any of the wine that that they make over there too. Their homemade wine. Oh, so great. So
good. I feel everything just hits different over there. Everything.
It really
Yeah.
does. It really does.
Um, here's another one for the two of you. What makes Croatia so special? I mean, I guess all three. I mean, Tony, you're involved, in the culture too as well, and the diaspora over there in San Pedro. I mean, for you guys, what makes it so special? Why are you guys doing what you're doing?
Well, I guess I could say what makes it special from the outside looking in is the dynamics of the culture. I know being a like Mexican heritage, there's culture there as well, but seeing like the overlap and then also seeing like the passion that everyone has. Um, Plus there's so much in such a small space of a country. So seeing all of that in there, it's just exciting.
I think for me, obviously it's family for me, and there's a lot of memories from childhood. But one of the special things for me for Croatia, especially you probably could relate with this, coming from Los Angeles and going over there, especially Dalmatian coast, just the speed of life is way slower. It's like every day is more appreciated versus kind of powering through the day and trying to accomplish as much as you can here in the States. So over there, I do respect that more, where free time, social time is a little bit more cherished versus, let's say, here in the States, like traffic jams. When the tourists hit hard in Croatia, it can be bad, but LA traffic is just an everyday part of life. So I do appreciate that so much of the slower lifestyle. Definitely.
Yeah, these two guys got some really good ones in there. The only thing I could connect with again is the family thing. Like I growing up similar to Tony, Mexican heritage. I'd go to Mexico as a kid, and I'd enjoy being with the family and really kind of pulling it all in, all the sights, the sounds, the smells, and everything. And then going to Croatia and just having that same mentality as a kid, like mindset, just soaking all that in and just being part of it. Like, oh wow, it's cleaner than where I go to. I went to Mexico City as a kid. My eyes would tear getting off the plane just from the smog.
Yeah.
So very different going to Croatia. But the beauty, the nature, I love it all. It's such a great, visit. And there's parts of me that go, oh, this reminds me of Mexico. Oh, this reminds me of Mexico as a kid. All these things. Seeing my kids enjoying it the way I enjoyed things and out, on my journey. So that's like me living through them a little bit. So that's also really special.
Yeah.
Awesome. Wow. Yeah. Great answers, you guys. That's awesome. Before I let you go, I've got one more question for you, and then stay tuned, everyone, because we're going to hit you with the video coming right after. But your favorite, no, was hardest Croatian word, most difficult Croatian word, or favorite? Your choice for all three of you.
Tony, I know what your favorite is. Kikiriki.
Well, I mean, obviously, I was thinking hardest. No, I mean they're all hard to me, but kikiriki for sure. It's a fun word to say. I mean, there's a lot of fun words that I've noticed in the language, but
hard words you're probably not going to remember how to pronounce.
I mean, they all just fly out of my brain. Yeah, there's a lot of tongue twisters and a lot of crazily spelled words that it's crazy. It's
Smrdljivo. That's one of my favorite ones. Stinky. Like they got the Smrdljivi Martin. It's a bug called the stinky bug. Smrdljiva, stinky. That's one of my favorites.
Terrible.
I just like saying stvarno for everything.
Yeah.
Like especially when my in-laws are over at a house or I'm at their house and they're speaking to each other in Croatian and going way too fast for my ear to pick up, and I'll just be like stvarno, and they both stop and look at each other like, did he catch all that? And then I walk away and letting them know that maybe I didn't catch all that, and I don't even know what they're talking about, to be honest, sometimes. So I'll let that pass. But stvarno is a good one.
Yeah, Moje too.
Moje, I say a lot.
Yeah.
And I say da a lot now. That's it. That's in all my vernacular. I text people da, and they're like, "What are you talking about?"
I like to say check-eye.
Check-eye.
That's a good one.
I think moje over here is the word that I use like most frequently. Like for anything, I'll just go, moje. Half the time I don't even know what they're offering. Like, moje.
Yeah, it's impolite to say no, so moje kind of covers it all. Yep.
That was one time I was at the like cafeteria over here at the University of Zagreb, and I asked the lady, I thought they looked like big steaks, and I was like in the back of the line, and no one was taking them off the rack. And so by the time I get there, they're still there. And I asked the lady in Croatian, and I was like, "Šta je ovo?" Like, what is this? I didn't understand what she said. So I was just like, oh, može, može. And I took and then I looked on the receipt and I like Google translated what it was, and it was liver.
That's why.
I had 3 huge, like juicy liver steaks, and I couldn't eat it. It was just
no, that one I could never cross over to either. Yeah. Liver, no way.
Pass.
Yeah.
Yeah, not for me. But you guys, I really appreciate you taking the time to come on here. It's really awesome what you guys are doing for the community, for the Croatian language, and helping people, you know, like myself and like yourselves, learn and stay, you know, in tune with their Croatian culture and heritage. We'll hit the video right now, but I just want to, you know, thank you guys again for coming on the podcast.
Puno hvala, Stanko. Puno hvala.
Puno hvala.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
hvala vama.
3, 4, sad.
So let's get things going with the lesson here. So at the beginning of the show, you heard 3 goofballs yell something loud, right? It was, and what you heard 3, 4, sad. So it's a really cool little thing where in English, at least in American English, we say either ready, set, go, or we say 1, 2, 3. But in Croatian, they say 3, 4, now.
Don't forget to hit subscribe
and smash that like button.